This incident happened on a night when I was the designated driver for my group of friends after a party. My friends, Michael, Eddie, and Daniela, were all drunk, and since we live out in the countryside, getting to and from bars or parties usually involves traveling long distances. Being the sober driver is a significant responsibility for us because it's rare that one of us can resist the temptation to drink. We were driving back home on Highway 513, a completely unlit road surrounded by dense forest and the occasional house. The highway is the main route to town, where all the bars are located. On this stretch of road, anything can happen, and that night, something truly unnerving did. As we were driving, Daniela started crying and complaining that she desperately needed to use the bathroom. At first, I tried to brush her off, telling her she'd have to wait a bit longer, but her whining only made me realize that I also needed to go. Her protests soon turned into a full-blown drunken tantrum, and her screaming was unbearable. Figuring there was no harm in stopping for a few minutes, I decided to pull over to the side of the road. We were surrounded by forest and crops, so I figured everyone could find a private spot to relieve themselves. Daniela got out first and disappeared into the crops on one side of the road. I didn't want to go anywhere near her, so I crossed to the opposite side and walked a short distance into the woods. I'm not the type of person who can comfortably do my business if someone else is nearby. I finished first and returned to the car, where Eddie and Michael were singing loudly along to the music blasting from the radio. They were clearly in good spirits, but I was getting annoyed and impatient. As the minutes passed, I realized something wasn't right. Daniela had been gone for 5 minutes, maybe more. At first, Michael and Eddie didn't seem concerned. Eddie was too far gone to care, and Michael thought it was hilarious. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I called Daniela's name, but there was no response. Michael eventually joined me, his loud booming voice making it impossible for Daniela not to hear, but still, there was silence. I didn't want to go into the crops, but I felt like I had no choice. Daniela was my friend, and I was the sober one, so I had to take responsibility. I insisted that Michael come with me because I was too scared to go alone. Eddie stayed in the car, completely oblivious to what was going on. Using a flashlight from my glove box, Michael and I pushed our way into the dense crops, walking in the only direction we could think to go, straight away from the car. Michael was calling out Daniela's name between fits of laughter. I could understand why he found the situation funny in his drunken state, but I just wanted to find her and go home. As we walked deeper into the crops, I started to hear something. It wasn't just the sound of our footsteps rustling through the stalks or Michael's voice. It was something else. I stopped in my tracks and put my arm out to stop Michael too. "What is it?" he whispered. "Shh," I replied, straining my ears to listen. Michael, being drunk and carefree, ignored me and called out for Daniela again. But this time, as soon as he spoke, the sound stopped. I started to think maybe Daniela was playing a prank on us, trying to scare us. We kept walking deeper into the crops, and that's when we came to a narrow clearing. It was a stretch of land just wide enough for 2 people to walk through. I don't know much about farming, but it looked like some kind of path, meant for walking or moving equipment. I shined the flashlight down the path as far as it could reach, first to the left, then to the right. That's when I heard footsteps, 3 of them. The sound was followed by the rustling of crops as someone stepped into view. At first, my flashlight only illuminated their legs. In that moment, I assumed it was Michael and was about to say something. But as I raised the beam, I realized it wasn't him. Standing there was a man I had never seen before. His face was hard to make out in the dim light, but something about him looked unfriendly, dangerous even. Panic surged through me, and I turned and ran as fast as I could, pushing my way through the crops until I burst out onto the roadside. I reached the car in what felt like seconds, my heart racing the entire time. Eddie was passed out in the back seat, so there was no point trying to wake him. Instead, I jumped into the driver's seat and leaned on the horn, hoping to get Michael's attention, and maybe even Daniela's. The sight of that man in the crops was burned into my mind, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were in serious danger. Eventually, Michael emerged from the crops, dragging Daniela with him. She was unconscious, her body limp. I jumped out of the car to help him lift her into the backseat. That's when I noticed the gash on her forehead, a deep wound that looked like it had been caused by a sharp, heavy object. Michael, now much soberer due to the situation, told me we needed to get her to a hospital immediately. The nearest one was about 10 minutes away, and the drive there was chaotic. The car was filled with panic and shouting as we sped down the dark highway. When we arrived at the hospital, the nurses took Daniela in right away to treat her wound. It was only then that Michael told them, and not me, that he had seen the man from the crops dragging Daniela's unconscious body before fleeing deeper into the field. He hadn't mentioned it in the car, but now everything made sense. Daniela eventually regained consciousness after receiving stitches, but she had no memory of the entire night. From the moment we arrived at the party to the moment she was struck in the head, it was all a blank for her. To this day, I have no idea who that man was or what his intentions were. All I know is that we were lucky to get out of there alive.